Comes to comfort food, shepherd's pie is definitely on our list.
Yeah, it's basic meat and potatoes. Local personal chef Tammy Brawley here to show us how to make her healthier version. A little bit of a twist on our meat and
A
potatoes.
little bit of a twist, yes, definitely. I grew up eating this, as I mentioned earlier. We call this meat pie growing up. Turns out it's called shepherd's pie. Scotland actually took it over to Ireland for us. It's one of my favorite things to do, traditionally done with lamb. The recipe that I have online is with lamb, but we changed it up because we like to make it a little bit healthier. Everybody tries, at least starting out the year anyway.
Yep, so you've got turkey.
I do. I have ground turkey and some onion. So what we've done here is we just kind of sweat it out a little bit, or just sauteed up a little bit of frozen peas, carrots, and onions. And then we're going to come back to that, and we're going to actually add a little bit of dried thyme.
And this is perfect this time of year. Just use frozen vegetables. You were saying lower in sodium.
Totally
It's
fine.
sodium at
Yeah,
all.
your frozen vegetables are going to be lower in sodium than your canned vegetables. So if you have to choose that way, then I would choose frozen versus
You said
canned.
a little bit of time. That was a lot of time.
Okay,
you
well, a
put
lot
in.
of time. Well, but it doesn't take a lot of time to put it together. so-
Okay, there you go.
And then we've got some dried parsley. Obviously, fresh herbs are going to always be better, but you know, if you can't have those in the winter, let's just do a little dried. It's not a problem with
Yeah,
that at all.
everybody has this in their kitchen.
Exactly, and it smells really, really good. And we hit it with a little bit of kosher salt there, and a little bit of fresh ground pepper. And now we're going to come back and we're going to add a little bit of flour, and that's going to thicken it for us a little bit. Not so much a gravy, just give it just a little bit, because we're going to come back. When you have turkey so low fat, you're going to need to add some sort of liquid, either it be olive oil. I personally prefer a little bit of broth. I've got some organic chicken broth. But you stir up the vegetables and get those coated with the flour.
So basically, you're just coating those real good
Coating
with
the
the flour.
vegetables because you just want that little bit of a glaze to a certain extent. Come back and add
Here
the
comes
chicken
the
stock.
broth.
Yep, here comes the broth. And you know, it'd be great if you could make homemade broth, keep it in your freezer. I go through homemade broth at my house about every 2 weeks. So
Wow.
I keep a stock on hand just in case. Now, you don't want this soupy. We're not making a soup or anything. You just want it to kind of coat it. And that's going to bring home a little bit of sauce. You can see how it's thickening up there.
That was quick.
Very, very quick. And you're kind of scraping the bottom. This is what we call fond, or delicious bits of
We're
goodness.
fond of it.
Yeah, we're fond of it, exactly. So then you can come back and add your already browned off turkey and onions there, which I did at the beginning.
And like you said, that's fairly dry, so you actually needed that broth.
It
in there.
is. It is fairly dry. And even after I've come back and add the turkey, if I think it needs more, which personally looking at this, I think it does, we'll come back and add a little bit more broth. Not very much. You just kind of want to get a nice little
So it's moist.
glistening, exactly,
Because
moist.
at this point, it's kind of like a pot pie.
Exactly. That is a great way to look at it. It's a pot pie without a bread topping. Then after it's nice and coated, we go and we put it into our casserole dish. Thank you, Bill.
Coming over to you.
Excellent. So we're just going to put it right in here. If I can do this without spilling it on
Okay,
anybody.
You're fine.
We threw food earlier in the kitchen. I'm not going to be doing that.
We
We're
won't
not
have to
gonna
clean
waste
the
any
floor.
of this.
No, we don't waste food. We eat it in our house. So you have it in your little casserole dish as such, and just kind of mix it out a little bit. Now, the traditional topping is always going to be mashed potatoes, usually mixed with butter, maybe a little bit of cheese if you'd like. Obviously, trying to cut down the calories, you can leave out the cheese, leave out the butter. But instead of white potatoes, I use sweet potatoes.
All right, so I've got
did
a
you
question.
prep
You
them?
got everything set up here for St. Patrick's Day, but we're using sweet potatoes. Do they even have sweet potatoes in Ireland? Or do we know?
I would not know the answer to that question, you
they,
know?
they do today.
They do today, so.
So how did you prep those, Tammy?
These are actually baked. Put them in
Okay.
aluminum foil, put them in a 400-degree oven for about an hour. Pull them out, peel them, mash them up. I will tell you that I did add a little butter. So.
Okay, that's good.
But you don't have to if you don't want to add the butter. But I didn't
We
want
wanna.
to.
And Bill,
Yes,
why don't you
exactly.
Turn, that's a finished casserole over there. Why don't you turn that around so that they can see
Oh,
that?
okay.
That would be a finished one that baked for about an hour or so in the oven at
Greg
about
finished some of
400
that
degrees.
off, actually, earlier.
Yes, exactly.
And we'll
then
put this recipe online. Like you said, the one online
Yep.
will have lamb in it, which is the traditional. And again, we're going to bake this for how long, Tammy?
bake it for about 45 minutes to an hour at about 400 degrees or so, just till it turns a little bit of brown on the top.
Perfect as the weather turns colder again.
Exactly.
Chef
and
Tammy
it will.
Brawley joining us
Thank
today.
you, Cheryl.